Well, hello, friends. It is April 30th, 2020, and I'm a day behind, and so I'm going to update two chapters tonight. This first is Chapter 7, Best Laid Plans, and this is from Ken Schoolin's work, The Adventures of Jonathan Gullible, a Free Market Odyssey. We join Jonathan tonight in the strange town that he's found himself in. Best Laid Plans. Dull 2- and 3-story wooden row houses lined the streets of the town. Then Jonathan noticed one grand, elegant home standing apart from everything, isolated on an expansive green lawn. It looked solidly built, adorned with attractive latticework and freshly painted white walls. Curious, Jonathan approached the house and found a crew wielding heavy sticks attacking the back of the house and trying to tear it down. They weren't very enthusiastic and moved very slowly at the job. Nearby, a dignified, gray-haired woman stood with her hands clenched, visibly unhappy at the proceedings. She groaned audibly when a piece of the wall came down. Jonathan walked over to her and asked, "That house looks well built. Who's the owner?" "That's a good question," the woman shot back vehemently. "I thought I owned this house." "You thought you owned it?" "Surely you know if you own a house," said Jonathan. The ground shook as the entire back wall collapsed inside. The woman stared miserably at the cloud of dust billowing up from the rubble. "It's not that simple," yelled the woman over the noise. "Ownership is control, right? But who controls this house? The lords control everything. So they're the real owners of this house, even though I built it and paid for every board and nail." Growing more agitated, she walked over and ripped a paper off a single post where a whole wall had stood moments before. "See this notice?" She crumpled it, threw it down, and stamped on it. "The officials tell me what I may build, how I may build, when I may build, and what I can use it for. Now they tell me they're tearing it down. Does that sound like I own the property?" "Well," ventured Jonathan sheepishly, "didn't you live in it?" "Only so long as I could keep paying the property taxes. If I didn't pay, the officials would have booted me out faster than you can say next case." The woman grew red with fury and continued breathlessly, "No one really owns anything. We merely rent them from the council so long as we pay their taxes." "You didn't pay the tax?" asked Jonathan. "Of course I paid the cursed tax," the woman practically shouted. "But that wasn't enough for them. This time the Lord said that my plan for the house didn't fit their plan, the master plan of the superior owners, they told me. They condemned the house, gave me some money for what they said it was worth, and now they're going to clear it away to make a park. The park will have a nice big monument in the center, a monument to one of their own." "Well, at least they paid you for the house," said Jonathan. He thought a moment and asked, "Weren't you satisfied?" She gave him a sideways look. "If I was satisfied, they wouldn't have needed a policeman to push the deal now, would they? And the money they paid me, that was taken from my neighbors. Who will compensate them? The lords won't pay them." Jonathan shook his head in bewilderment. "You said it was all part of a master plan?" "Ha, a master plan," the woman said sarcastically. "That's a plan that belongs to whoever has political power. If I spent my life in politics, then I'd be able to impose my plans on everyone else. Then I could steal houses instead of building them. It's so much easier." "But surely you need a plan to have a wisely built town," said Jonathan hopefully. He tried to find a logical explanation for her plight. "Shouldn't you trust the council to come up with such a plan?" She waved her hand at the row houses. "Go see for yourself. The worst plans are the few that they actually complete. Shoddy, costly, and ugly." Turning to face Jonathan, she looked him straight in the eye. "Think of this. They built a sports stadium where 9 of every 10 spectators can't see the field of play. Because of their shoddy work, it costs twice as much to repair as it cost to build in the first place. And their great meeting hall is only available to visitors, not for the taxpayers who paid for it. Who did the planning? The lords. They get their names emblazoned in stone, and their friends get fat contracts." Jabbing a finger into Jonathan's chest, she declared, "Only foolish plans have to be forced on people. Force never earned my trust." Fuming, she glared back at her house. "They haven't heard the last from me." And that is chapter 6. A couple of interesting things about that chapter. Of course, here in Fort Worth, Texas, we had a couple of summers ago, we had a World War II veteran who was hospitalized for almost a year, and he didn't pay his property taxes while he was hospitalized. And so when he got out of the hospital and tried to go home, all of his things were in the front yard, and they had sold his home at auction. Now, he was lucky. He got a state senator behind him and a few other people. There was a large public outcry, and they managed to get his house back for him. But in Texas, we do pay property taxes on homes, and I've often heard people say that you don't ever own your home; you simply rent it from the government. And that's the same lesson we saw in this chapter. In addition, it made me laugh because I remember just a few years ago, Allen, Texas, which is about probably 50 miles from here in the northeast of Dallas, built a brand new football stadium. And before it even opened, they found cracks in the foundation and had to tear it down and rebuild it. And so I'm not sure that the repairs were I'm not sure they completely had to tear it down, but I know they had to do significant structural work to it, which may have been just as expensive as the original construction. And then here it is in our story by Mr. Schooland. It's never a surprise for me anymore how relevant things are to real life in lessons like this. All right, so I'm going to end this video, and I will be back shortly with Chapter 7. Have a good day.